Oh, there we go. Hi, and welcome to the World of Pets podcast. I'm Anthony, your co host, and David is out today for those of you that are regular viewers of the program. But today we have a special guest that lives in the area where I live here in Arizona, and she is what I would consider to be an expert in fostering dogs. She's done it for quite some time. I've never done that. I fostered children, but dogs usually listen better than children. So I don't have any experience with fostering pets of any sort, dogs, cats, horses, whatever the situation might be. But of course, as always, World of Pets podcast is brought to you by Deb's Pets. That's debspets.com. They have all kinds of natural uh, solutions for your dog and your animal. And or some of them actually work on human beings as well. So check out debspets.com as it's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Oh, no, it's not scrolling yet. Anyway, but check that out. And they are our sponsor as always. Uh, well, Beth, thanks for joining us. Uh,
Hi.
Foster care of pets is not what you do full time. You are a teacher
Yeah.
in the public schools out here in Arizona. But this is, of course, a podcast about pets. So we figured as we were talking, we try to plan this show out. We try to get people on that have expertise in different subjects or different things surrounding pets. Most of us specifically, it's dogs, but pets of all sort. So thanks for being here. Anything you want to say in opening, go ahead. If not, we'll just jump right into some questions that we
Perfect.
have. So tell us a little bit about how you got into fostering uh, dogs or
So,
pets.
well, I mean, it just kind of popped up. I have a, colleague that went to high school with me. She's huge on the PACC, Pima Animal Center you know, from Tucson. And she put up this dog on Facebook. She regularly goes to the pack and takes the dogs out for car rides, park rides, gets them a puppuccino, gets them some Chipotle meat. She just loves taking those dogs out,
I
and
want
she
a
fosters as
cappuccino.
well. She fosters both cats and dogs.
Oh, okay.
And so she posted this dog, and it just tugged at my heart, and
Of course,
I
yeah.
knew this poor dog was miserable. So I posted on there and I said I'd like to meet her, and she said, "Okay, I'll be there on Sunday. Go." And so I remember it like it was yesterday. Of course, I went to church. Right after church, I bolted to the pack and gave them the exact number because I knew which dog I was going to go see. And this poor girl, I mean, her tail was tucked in. She was scared of everybody around her. She didn't even want anything to do with me, to be honest. And so I text Molly and I told her I'm leaving. I can't see the dog. Even the handler, the guy that took her out, can't even get her into the little area where I'm supposed to meet her. And of course, Molly calls me and she's like, "Don't leave." I had already drove off. And she's like, "Don't leave, don't leave. I promise you, she's a perfect fit for you. You're going to love her. Just don't leave." And I had already left. So, of course, I turned back and drove back I wasn't too far away. And I started, even without her being comfortable with me, I started filling out the paperwork to foster her. I said, I'm not going to give up on this dog. I'm going to take her no matter what. So I filled out and given you, I was living in apartments at that time where I didn't even have a dog on the lease. But it was like, my heart was like, nope, I'm taking her.
Yep.
So she was even skittish in there while I was filling out paperwork. And of course, we were like, okay, let's put her on a leash and take her to your car. As soon as she saw my car, she jumps right in. And then that's when my friend Molly was like, "See, it's meant to be." And I was like, "Okay." And so I brought her home. So
Awesome. Well, that's great. And so, how long did you have that particular dog, or did you end up adopting her? Do you still have her?
I still have her, yes. So she's
Okay.
9 now. We're going on 3 years now, like 2.5 years. So it'll be 3 years. And she requires a lot of work. I will not sugarcoat it. Like fostering, like dogs you get from any kind of shelter, they and that have been abused before. She was severely abused. So
Yeah.
she requires a lot of work, but she is loyal. Like she's loyal. It took her a really long time to even get used to my own two kids. So baby steps with her, you know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's what it's about. Like, for example, when in the state of Arizona, when you get into doing foster care for kids, for humans, they teach you about, taking your time and being patient with the child, no matter what age the child is, really, because even if it's an infant or a baby, it could still have some kind of traumatic things and events and circumstances that it's gone through in their life, and so they tell you to take their time. So I think patience in these situations, whether it's a pet or a human, is vitally important.
Yeah,
But
100%. Yeah, kids are like our pets, you know. So
yeah,
whatever situation they were in before you, they require a lot of work.
sure. Oh, absolutely. um, so that's how you got started. That's awesome. Um, what does it take to get started? Do you have to buy a bunch of supplies, or are they all provided for you?
No, yes, any kind of I down here, even at the Animal League in Sahuarita, Green Valley area, I've taken lots of dogs from them, and they actually do come with like a little bag of food, wet food, a little bowl, a leash. So same at the pack. They had a leash for her, a blanket,
Oh,
bag
nice.
of food, and a bowl. So there was some things that came with her just to kind of help people get started, especially if you've never had a pet before.
Man, you get a blanket. I might check myself into the pack. I want a blanket.
Yeah, it
Um,
came with a
a bag of food. You're gonna give me free food? All right, cool. I'll check myself in. That's awesome. I guess a really big question, in which I think we can spend a little bit of time, is you have other pets. You have dogs. You just took in one that you had for a while previously that was in a less than ideal situation. But in any of those situations, whether you're taking in a foster or a dog that you previously had, if they're aggressive toward your other dogs or have any sort of separation anxiety, how do you handle that? Especially in a foster situation, like you don't want to just give up on the dog and return them, but if they're being aggressive toward one of your other dogs or destroying things in your house or destroying your house in general, how do you handle that?
Yes, that's a good question. When I first got her, I mean, she barks at everybody and at everything. And yes, when I took Diesel back just this January, she would snap at him a lot. Thankfully, I got like I had like Christmas break, and so we had time to work with her. But um, also when I got her, I had a week off because it was landed like close to like a break that I had from school. But then I went to work that Monday, and she actually ran off from the apartments.
Well,
And of course, I was at work, so I didn't know. So sure enough, Molly was like, "Get a pet camera, the Ring camera." So I do have a Ring. I have two Ring cameras actually, pet cameras to keep an eye on the dogs. And just kind of with having Diesel, you can tell she had gotten used to just being a love dog by herself.
mhm,
So when I got Diesel, she does snap at him here and there. So I just have to make sure that I there to control the situation or just be like, it's
sure.
okay. You know, she's gotten used to him. They mesh well so far.
But like as far as a dog that you're going to have temporarily, that's a foster, how do you handle that? Even if it's the foster dog coming in, maybe they're a very shy dog. They're gonna, you know, for a while they're going to just kind of curl up in the corner and mind their own business. But then after they kind of get used to things, they're going to maybe have some separation anxiety or be aggressive toward the other dogs. How do you handle that personally?
I I don't, well, I mean, I just reassure her a lot. I let her be herself. I know if I have company, she will curl up or she will want to like. She doesn't attack, but she'll snap with like a really
Mhm.
scary bark. Be like, no, stop, you're fine. Like I have to
Yeah.
reassure, you're fine, you're fine. And just when I am home, just show her, that she's here to stay.
Yeah. That's good. My dog, whom I've had for good night, over a year now, almost 2 years actually, I think. Anyway, she just turned 2 in November, and yeah, so I've had her for over 2 years. Anyway, when I first moved back here from living in the Pacific Northwest for 13 months, she had separation anxiety. I left one of the windows open like this fall, like this much, and she scratched out the screen, wedged herself out the window, went over the screen, and was like running around the neighborhood. And I'm a disabled veteran, fully disabled, so I don't work. And I came home from volunteering at the school, and this psychologist that just lives up the road, her name is Jennifer, she was holding the dog, like walking, trying to see if the front door was open. And then she was walking back to the garage. And right as she was walking back to my garage, I was pulling in. And it was just her separation anxiety. She
Yeah.
destroyed the carpet in the house here I live in 3 times trying to get to where I was because I had gone somewhere. She thought I was outside, so she's like, "I'm going to dig under and get to him, and I'm going to get
Okay.
to where he is." So I finally got her used to being here. She hasn't done any sort of damage in a long, long time. But I mean, she was destroying carpets. She knocked down my 65-inch TV. I mean, she just did just completely destroyed it, did all kinds of damage. And that's one thing, by the way, just to make another shameless plug here, that debspets.com can help you with. They've got supplements that can help dogs with those kind of things. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, separation anxiety is really common, especially, and my dog has not been abused at all for the last 2 years, but in dogs that have been in abusive situations, um, that can be a challenge for sure.
No, she did. Like I said, when I went back to work that following week, she did escape the apartment. And, it was, I found her once I got off work. But yeah, it was a separation because she finally felt comfortable with me. And from day one, she's been only comfortable with me. So I know it's hard. With the pet camera, the Ring camera, like if I see her kind of going through something, I can talk to her on it if it pops up on my notification.
Yeah,
She'll start looking for me, but it's just like at least she knows that I'm watching. But I mean, that's really all I can do if I'm stuck at work.
yeah.
But
No,
thankfully she hasn't destroyed anything. She's a pretty good dog, and she's got a good amount of acres, an acre here to run around. I make sure that we make sure the gate is closed at all times. So that's
no,
all I can do.
yeah. Yeah, I'm looking to get some land here in a little bit. Oh, how do you decipher whether or not a dog's going to work in your home?
I think really is you can tell if the dog is comfortable with you, and that really does set up the mood. If they don't feel, I this is what I always say, a dog doesn't lie. They really don't, because they're the most genuine. I personally, I've always
Yeah,
been a
yeah.
dog lover. They're the most genuine pet you can have. So you can tell when a dog really just doesn't like a person,
Mhm.
and it's just not a good fit, you know? And it's sad because you don't want them to end up in a shelter, but you also want them to be in their forever home.
Right. Yeah, well, and on that note, the plus thing about the shelter here, at least one in Tucson, the PAC, the Pima Animal Care Center, is there are no kill shelters, so they'll work with that dog as long as they can or have to
Yeah.
try to play or pet in general. We got my daughter got her cat from there. Now the cat's a whole different story. Oh, cats! Let me tell you something. But anyway, she got her cat from there about 6 months after we got the dog, and so. But again, like I said, they'll hang on to the animal as long as they need to. I kind of wish they'd put the pet snakes down, but anyway, they did.
I don't think I've seen them with pet snakes, but
No, I haven't either. I haven't seen that at all. Um, they had pet fish, and then they said they don't know what happened to them, but there was a fork and knife on the counter. Anyway, um, well, the good thing you had mentioned Pack earlier, and that you took a specific number out of there. I was recently just thinking about whether or not I should get a companion for my dog for times I am out, especially with the separation anxiety she'd had, 4 and 5 months back. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I should get her like another pet. So I went to Pack, and they've basically completely revamped their system. Basically, you get online now
yeah.
and you pick the dog in advance. You write down this, like, basically a serial number is what it is. Write it down, put it in your phone, or email it to them, and then you go there and you're like, I want to see this specific dog with this specific number, and they've pretty much got the dog ready for you to
Wow.
view and to spend time with and to look at. Um, they'll tell you everything, all the information you need. If it's not previously listed, will be available for you when you get there on the dog. So it's really been a very streamlined system now. I mean, you can still go in person, but that usually takes a lot longer. You're sitting around, you're waiting around, you're hoping nobody else comes and picks the dog. You're kind of basically like reserving it when you do it
Yeah.
that way.
Oh, that makes sense. That's much more organized. I think it was just because I had insight like I knew a volunteer there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the process was a little bit different for me, but I like where you can see them online
Yeah.
prior.
Yep. You can view them online and they've got the serial number, a little bio about the dog, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were looking at this one dog, and this dog in the shelter was really, really shy. Like the whole time that we had it in the little area where you can play with them and pet them and observe them in there. I guess it's called an observation area, but that little observation area where they had this dog, she just pretty much stayed in the corner the whole time. She didn't growl or anything, but you could tell she was extremely nervous. And I kept trying to tell the kids, just be patient, just put a treat in your hand and then just sit there and wait. And of course, my little ones are only, 7 and 8 years old. So they're kind of anxious and skittish and kind of wanting to move around a little bit. And so I showed them, I just went up there and I just sat there and I just waited. And eventually she just kind of came up to me slowly and I held a treat out and she took it and ran away, and then she ran off into the corner. But yeah, so they'll set it up where you can come look at dogs. And then now, before you adopt a dog, I don't know if it's the same with fostering, you might be able to speak to that, but now you can even bring your dog that you currently own or pet in, like a dog or a cat, and see how that animal gets along with your animal. And I think that's a really big advantage.
I like that. Yes, with that's how it is with the Animal League here in Green Valley. If you have a pet like a cat and a dog, then they want you to meet the dog you're meeting. That way they know it's a good companion for the whole family.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Because you definitely want to make sure, like I said, you don't want to give up on these dogs. You don't want to give up, especially too quickly. You don't want to bring a dog in and then all of a sudden, like a week later, you're like, yeah, it ate my other dog, and like you don't want those kind of things. So it's like, you think eating homework's bad. You probably hear that a lot. Imagine when your dog ate your other dog. But
Oh gosh.
would you recommend fostering for just anybody, or do you think it should be a specific type of person, or what would you recommend? What kind of
No,
home? Type of
I
home?
think I think with the type of dog, how skittish she is, it really helped to foster her. I do recommend fostering if you don't know for sure if you want to pet. If you know for sure you're ready and you're not going to give up on them, you're going to keep them, till their doggy life is done. I would say, yeah, go ahead and adopt, but fostering really helped with this situation in this case.
Mhm. How long potentially, like if you got a dog that you don't intend on keeping, but you're fostering, how long are they in your home before they find a home forever?
I mean, they're okay with like
Huh.
6 months to even a year,
Oh, wow.
honestly. Once you take that dog, the pack works really well with you. Like they email you constantly to make sure everything's okay. I did receive a few phone calls to make sure she was okay. So they do check up on you.
Oh, good. That's really good. Um, yeah. I mean, I think that's a good situation because then they're keeping appraised to anything that is happening for. So if somebody does get on the website and they're like, "Oh, I want to see this dog," then they're like, "Oh, we're able to communicate with the person that's fostering this animal, and we're able to see if what are the ins and outs, what are the quirks of this dog? Is this dog aggressive? Is it food aggressive? Does it seem to have separation anxiety? What's the situation?" So that's all a really good part of the program. And yes,
Is Beth going to babysit us again?
I don't know. So uh, I think that's really um, a good thing to do. Now, somebody recommended that for me with the dog. The only issue I had is I don't have a very good setup for it. Like I don't know if you crate your dog. Some people are against crating. I'm not against crating. I use crating a lot. Unfortunately for my dog, when I first moved down here back down here last October, I tried putting her in a plastic crate. She chewed through it and got out, like stuck herself through a basketball size hole. And my dog's officially a medium. The vet says she's right where medium and small intersect, so she's a medium.
Yeah.
And she put herself through a basketball size hole. And then I got her a wire crate. So I was like,
Yeah.
all right, she won't get through this. But then she was scratching at it and gnawing at it so much she was causing issues on her feet and her nails and her gums and teeth. And so I ended up not being able to crate her after like the first couple of weeks, and then she started having the separation anxiety. But we worked through it. But I crate dogs, but because I got rid of those crates and gave them to somebody else, well, I threw the one away that got broken that she chewed through, but I got rid of the other crate because I don't crate her anymore and I don't need to
Yeah.
any longer. I wouldn't be in an ideal situation because I wouldn't be able to crate a foster
No.
dog.
And that makes sense. I was actually going to bring that up. Another thing is if your dog, I mean, you're fostering or you're just barely adopting a new dog and they don't feel safe, like a crate to their size with a nice pillow and a blanket, like, and maybe like a toy and a treat in there, because then they'll feel like they know they're still in a small area in your home,
Right.
but they're still safe. Like I said, same here. I don't crate my dogs either. But I think if I would have seen her have more anxiety, I would have probably started creating her, but she wasn't destroying things. And then from the one time she ran away, she never did it again. So the only issue was that I was in apartments, and if anybody passed by, she'd like bark, and I could hear her through the Ring camera just barking. But I mean, it's a dog. Dogs bark. They're normal. But I was gonna say yes, crating could work on certain dogs. It just depends. You have to know the vibe around. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've always found that interesting when like a neighbor comes up to me and they're like, "Your dog was barking." I'm like, "Do you want it to moo, meow, neigh? Like, what would you like my dog to do?" That's
Yeah.
what kids talk, dogs bark. Like, what would you like them to do? Like, you know.
Yeah. It's a normal thing. That's what they do. And we kind of want them to bark to, like,
Oh
let us
yeah.
know that there's somebody around.
Well, you talked about it earlier. That you always say dogs don't lie. Um, and can you go over there? I just had this conversation with one of my kids, might even been today, either yesterday or today, in the last day or so, about that dogs are the best judge of character. Like that's why dogs bark at doors, or sometimes not even the doorbell. Like sometimes my dog will
You said it yesterday.
9 times out. Okay, thank you. I said it yesterday. Apparently, 9 times out of 10, my dog will bark at the doorbell, but sometimes it'll just be a person walking by the house and she barks. And
Yeah.
that's because they just have this innate sense, I guess, that they were created with that we don't understand, that they can just judge right away the character of the situation or even the mood of a situation changing. And that's why they're also good companions as far as like emotional support, medical support, service animals, because they do have that innate ability to do that stuff and to judge the environment.
Oh yeah. 100%. And another thing that you're saying, like the emotional support. I mean, when I got her, I was going through so much, and
Mhm.
so she was like, in a sense, I know I saved her, but she was also like a savior to me too.
Yeah.
So it was just, we just bonded immediately.
Yeah. We've talked about that a lot on this program about my dog Cobb, who actually for a while, when I did live up in the Pacific Northwest, she was in training to be a service dog, and then that facility did some illegal stuff and got shut down. But anyway, she was in the process to be a service animal for me.
Yeah.
But even before that, she was a great emotional support. I mean, my dog will literally jump up on my lap, throw her two front legs over either side of my neck, and then put her head right here and just like hug me and just stay there for like 30 seconds. I'm like, hi. But she doesn't do it all the time. She can tell like when the situation is starting to get tense.
Oh
Maybe I'm
yeah.
feeling a little down. Maybe I'm in pain because of all my injuries. Whatever the situation might be, she's actually able to decipher those situations. And here she comes. She jumps right up on me and she's right there. And sometimes it's hard to get her to go away. But anyway, she does that and she's
Yeah.
right there. But they just have that innate ability to do that. And I think it's an amazing feature of dogs.
Yeah.
You already talked about it a little bit, but let's talk about a little more. Let's go into a little more detail if we can about like what kind of added stress does having a strange animal that may come in and out of your home, or strange multiple animals that may come in and out of your home, just in general, not just to your pets, but to your family in general. What kind of stress does that add to the environment?
I mean, just because this dog in general is a dog that doesn't trust a lot because of what she's been through, I mean, no dog should be this of people. So, she was gone through a lot. So it's hard on her because she's not comfortable. She'll be constantly barking at the other dog or the other person here. And she's one of those that it takes her like 6, 7 months to get used to somebody. So she has to constantly see them. And even little things like when my daughter comes and she's like, oh, she's so cute laying on the couch, and comes and just kind of like if it scares her, she'll kind of like snap, because this is a type of dog she is. She grew up being so scared of everything and everybody that it does stress me out a little bit when I'm like, okay, somebody's coming over. I don't want her to like start barking, but that's who she is. And I think when I tell people her story, they kind of understand, and they're like, oh, okay, that's who she is.
Right. Yeah.
She comes with me to church on Sundays, and everybody at church, they already know she runs around the area, and they know not to get close to her. They know to just wait till she's ready. And so they know her story. So they if you know her story, they kind of understand a little bit better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I talked to a lady just this last week who took a dog in from a previous situation, and it had like snapped at and tried to bite the previous owner. And she thought it was just the situation the dog was in. But now this dog's like acting strange toward her. But again, to her credit, she's like not willing to give up on this dog. She's like, I'm going to just keep trying and just keep trying and just keep trying. And I like that in people. Sometimes you just got to be patient with them and take some time, and just let the dog kind of figure things out on their own. I firmly believe, I mean, I don't know if there's science to back this up or not, but I firmly believe it might take time, but eventually, because dogs are such great judges of character and environment, eventually, if you're providing the home and the support and the care that you need for a dog, they will come around.
Yeah. Also, though, too, there's if you're getting them from a shelter, there is some shelters that offer like training,
Yeah.
like a special offer on some training where you don't have to pay full price. And that's another way to bond with the dog, is you take them to this training once a week, and that's a good bonding experience as well. And I started out with taking her to the dog parks, because we were in a little apartment, playing with her, and I want her to get used to people, and I want her to get to know that I'm always going to be there. So things like that always help too.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I agree. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm eventually hoping to get into a situation where I'm dealing with bigger animals. I want to do an equine assisted therapy ranch. And I've recently, within the last couple of weeks, had a conversation with a couple ranches that do what similar things to what I want to do, not the exact same, but similar things. And one of the ladies I was talking to on the phone at this ranch in Iowa, she was like, "Oh, you should just take in mistreated horses." And I'm like, I think that's a little too big an animal to be doing experiments with, especially ones you're going to have around the public and things like that. I said, and I'm not set up for that, so
Oh no, don't tell me they offer that, because I'd be like, yeah, I'll go get it right now.
No, they do. There's a lot of, so people got a lot of, it was like popular in this country around the same time the homesteading movement was. And there are some legitimate homesteaders, and I love homesteading, but there are some legitimate homesteaders that do it. But of course, people get into things as hobbies. So there was a lot of people that got into hobby ranching, whether it was taking in farm type animals or horses and cattle and things of that nature. And then they didn't know the first thing about it. They didn't have the means, the skill set to take care of these animals. So they end up basically not treating these animals right, whether intentionally or not. Maybe it's just a lack of skill and knowledge, or maybe sometimes it is intentional, but they end up not taking proper care of these animals. And then it comes into a situation where either they have to give the animal up or they're forced to give the animal up. And that happened a lot with horses. So now there's ranches all across the country that you can find if you want to. And they'll be like, hey, this horse was mistreated for so long. We really are just kind of providing a temporary place for it until we find somebody that's willing to work with it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have that kind of knowledge. Like, I'm not going to be trying to break horses and get them to be considered compatible, safe, or any of that stuff. Like, I'm not going to be doing any, that's not my area, that I'm looking to even want to get into. I would not want to be a farrier around a horse that's skittish. Like, that just would not be a good situation. But yeah, no, I mean, there people got into hobby ranching and they did get that. But with dogs, it's a little bit different, because in most situations, even if the dog is aggressive, you can put something between you and the dog that the dog can't get through. It's hard to do that with a horse.
Sure.
And so that's just a situation that's not always good. But no, and of course, horses need a lot more room to run. I always get frustrated when I see people that have like this little like little 50-foot diameter area, and they've got this one horse just standing there in the middle of it. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you have
Like,
there.
horses need room. They need land. They need area. You know, you've got this horse in this little bitty area. I'm like, but I'm not the pet police. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks for joining us today. Thank you for your insights. We appreciate you being here. We are going to wrap this up. As always, to anyone out there, again, we would like to direct you if you have need or would like to check it out to debspets.com. That's debspets.com. And until then, we will catch you next time. We're going to exit out of this, and Deb is going to sign us off. All right, say bye.
Bye. Bye. I hope you can babysit us.
I will soon.
All right, see ya.
Yeah.
All right, let me stop this. How do I stop?